Hello, chefs. Good morning. We are back again. I'm Isaiah, the young Jedi chef, here with the Dragon Warrior chef, German Lam, and the Phoenix Warrior chef, Noreen. We will be your host for today's podcast. You are listening to a unique podcast where we will discuss tough yet real topics that need to be heard in the industry. In this podcast, you will hear the truth, real, raw, and unfiltered. Today, we have the honor of having Chef Susanne with us to talk about having fun with food and education. I'm excited to get started and jump right in. So I'll let the star of our show, our guest, Chef Suzanne, introduce herself. Chef?
Good morning. I'm Chef Susanne Grier. I am a proud high school culinary educator. In my world, we call it career and tech ed. Back in the day, it was called voc ed. I've also taught post-secondary, and I'm also a certified executive pastry chef through the ACF. And I just, about a year ago, I received my master's in career and technical education from Ball State.
Wow, Chef, that's awesome. We're super excited to have you on this call today. You're very passionate about food, very passionate about what you do, very passionate about your students. So, super excited to hear your stories and what you have to say on everything that we're going to discuss today. So, I know that education is really a big deal for you, and you really teaching your students and making sure that they get their full education, that they get the best experience possible is really what you're passionate about. So, I want to start talking on that and then also talk about what gets you excited about the food industry and what made you fall in love with it in the first place. Why did you want to become a culinary instructor? Why did you want to make this impact in these students' lives? So we'll just start from there. What got you started in this industry of really education and food education specifically, and what makes you so excited about it every day?
So, Chef, I'm 49 years old, and right before,
Wow, looking good, chef, looking good.
and I think it's because of years of pickling and fermentation. But as a, I had an IEP, so I grew up with a learning disability. And before Food Network happened and existed, there was a great show called Great Chefs of the Northeast, Chefs of the Southeast. It was on PBS. And I remember running home to watch that. And I couldn't read at a young age when everyone else was reading. And one of my aunties from New Orleans sent me this kid's cookbook that was all pictures. And my parents' nickname for me was the Midnight Baker. Maybe that was foreshadowing for what I do now. But that led me to, we were living in Colorado. I loved skiing, very active in the outdoors, and I needed new skis. My dad was like, well, get a job. So I started washing dishes, and it was interesting because when we talk about gender in the culinary workspace, I was hired under a probationary period because they didn't hire female dishwashers at the time. We're talking early 90s. Um, and then after that, I moved up. I was asking very inquisitive questions that normal high school kids weren't asking the bakers, weren't asking the line cooks, weren't asking the chef. And my dad said he didn't support me going to culinary school. He said it wasn't a real profession. The joke's on him a little bit, isn't it? Uh, God love him. But the deal was I could major in fine art if I got an education degree. And after student teaching, I was like, I love the process and how people learn and process information and how environment really impacts the way you learn. I did a semester on urban education where I taught in inner city Chicago and understanding the idiosyncrasies that these students have to go through just to make it through a day. And I've also taught in rural Iowa, and it's interesting how both sides have the same issues, just different dynamics. And once I graduated college, I wound up back where my heart is in the kitchen. And I became a corporate chef. I graduated from Sullivan University with culinary, being pastry arts, and professional catering, and just really grew to find the kitchen as my home. And there was a commonality in large scale catering. I got praised for my fast brain. And if you look around, neurodiversity is thriving in the kitchen workspace. The amount of people that have ADHD and can think fast and can have two running thoughts at the same time and be very fast on their feet and very quick to assess and address the situation, what needs to happen. That's the beauty of the neurodiversity of the kitchen, of creating a space and a place where people feel accepted and appreciated because their brains function differently, that out in the non-kitchen world you're considered weird, but
Mm,
in the hospitality world we're just normal. We're just pretty normal for in a lot of spaces. But I remember moving to from Ohio to Indianapolis about 14 years ago. My heart was saying I need to be in the classroom.
mm,
I was done with that corporate side. I was done with that aspect. And my husband and I wanted to start a family too. And that led me to start teaching at the college level. And I got very active in judging and helping to coach students at the high school level in Pro Start and Skills USA. If y'all have never experienced any of those, check them out. It creates amazing opportunities for our young students for um, opportunities in the workforce, scholarship opportunities. One of my students received a full ride to Johnson and Wales because of their activity in Skills USA. And then I wound up in the high school classroom where I have found it to be the most challenging. I get the Sunday scaries like nothing else, but it's not from the students, it's from admin not understanding what we're doing, all the way to so rewarding when you see that student click, when they realize this is my jam, and whatever that is. I they consider my program a dumping ground. If they don't know what to do with the kid, they dump him in my class. Oh, the kid has behavior problems. Oh, put him in Chef Grier's class. She can fix them because of that big mama. I call it the big mama love,
mm,
where the kids know when they've done bad. I will call them out, but
mm,
they still know I love them. And I'm calling them out because I know what I see isn't their best.
mm,
They're testing me, they're trying me because okay, you have a 1.7 GPA. Call someone who cares because I don't. What I see is an amazing human that has great opportunity that traditional education just doesn't work for them.
mm,
And how do we make that work? Okay, well, chef, I don't want to be a chef. Okay, let's talk about that. What is the song of your heart? Well, I really like working with electronics and electric and all this stuff. Okay, well, let's look at that. What can you do after high school and become an electrician? These are the job opportunities. That's what I love about career and tech ed is I'm exposed to a lot of different career pathways.
mm,
And for me, it's just, I consider myself a Sherpa in these kids' lives where I get them and I'm going to lead them to their mountain.
mm,
I'm on their journey. I'm going to take those bumps with them. I'm going to take those falls with them. Because a lot of my students have parents that are deceased from drug overdoses, living with grandparents. Some of them are in foster care. And I teach in a upper middle class community where people don't believe that exists, but it does.
mm,
I see it. The AP and honors teachers might not see that. I see it, and I have to adjust the way I teach, the way I approach my students in a very real and raw way. All my students say, Chef, you're the most real teacher I've ever had. That's what you need. That's what you deserve. And then I have some colleagues that are like, how do you even still have a job? I said,
mm,
because I'm effective, because I'm highly effective, because I produce great students that go out and they're the dragons out there. They're slaying their own demons. They're going out there and finding their own joy, whatever that is. If I just want these kids to be good humans that contribute back to society and can find some joy in a career path, whether it's the hospitality industry. And like I have one student that graduated at a 4.6 GPA. They're up at Purdue majoring in bioengineering with a minor in food science. They're going to do incredible things benefiting communities with that kind of knowledge. And then on the other side, I have a student that went right in the industry working as a line cook, but both different examples, but both are finding their joy. And at the end of the day, that's my job.
Chef, I gotta say, wow, that story touched me. Like your story, it's impactful, very impactful, and I think you just sharing it could help a lot of people in itself. You know, because a lot of people they start like same way with you. They started from dishwasher and they work their way up. And some people don't think they could be at that chef level. They don't think they could be at that even whatever it is. They just see where they're at now and they just need somebody to believe in them. They need somebody to push them. They need somebody to tell them that they can do it and that it is possible. And a lot of people, like you said, they grow up in a home where they don't have that support. They don't have the people there to guide them and mentor them. Luckily, I've had the opportunity to have parents that care and that support me. But like you said, growing up and seeing in college, a lot of my friends, they didn't have the same opportunities that I had in terms of, that support. So just what you're doing, your story is like it's touching, and I think you having the courage to share that is gonna really impact a lot of people. So thank you so much for that, Chef. Chef Lam, Noreen, what's your take on it? What's your spin?
Yeah, I wish I had a teacher like you, Chef Grier, when I was in high school, because I think a lot of students are limited in what they think is possible as a career after high school, going into college or going into a technical school. And especially now, we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast, the way the funding is going in the education system, or not going, I should say. It's really important to pull these kids and find, like you said, find their mountain. That was beautiful because it took me 2 careers and 12 years to find my mountain. And now I'm climbing it. But having an open mind and bringing that information and those different options to students is so incredibly important and valuable. And I just really commend you for that because we need a lot more of that in society, in education in general. You know, the culinary field's not the only field that's feeling the pinch of not having enough people coming into the industry. There are other industries like that where they're like, there's not enough graduates, there's not enough people interested. It's really hard to keep employees. So, you're giving really great, foundation for how we can get that next generation in because we need it. Hospitality really needs it.
hmm Yeah, exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think, like you said, Noreen, it's about the foundation and it's about who the people that you have in your life at the beginning that build you up and really inspire you to be great one day, because if you don't have that, if you don't see if it's possible for yourself, you're not gonna go for it. You need somebody to be there and tell you it is possible, see what there is available and then dream it and you can make it happen. Chef Lam, what's your go? What's your take?
I'm listening to this right here, and I'm listening to the chef's her own storytelling. And you got 2 points. You have an educator, you have a teacher, but then you have a parent and you have kids. And to me, I always said, you know what? Being a parent is the best thing and it's the worst thing because you could have your kid create solutions to the problems of the world, or your kid could be the problem of the world, and to me, telling someone that that is wrong and how do you fix it, it's really fun, because I call it the good, bad, and ugly. And because we're smart and our minds are AI. So as you go through in journey from teenager all the way to, young profession to, baby boomer to suddenly your mid 50s, you have a lot of wisdom. And your wisdom is you're able to outperform what's out there because what's out there is part of what life is. You know what I mean? is freestyle. We can't control any of the casualties. And the only thing you control, like I said, the sooner you understand discipline structure and that seed is blossoming, you're going to be okay. But when that is not ingrained 100%, then, you're going to learn the hard way. You know what I mean? And that right there is part of life. Like, hey, you made a choice. Now you got to reap it. And now you learn from it and move on.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Having the proper discipline and structure to really build you up is what makes you great. If you don't have that discipline, when you get into the real world and you experience problems, you won't know how to deal with them. So I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Chef Lam, for that. So like being in this industry, and like you said, Chef Suzanne, you're building up students, you're building them up, giving them confidence and giving them a chance and an opportunity. And with that, like you create so many bonds, so many memories, so many connections with these students and with these people. So kind of like the next question is what's one of your favorite memories surrounding either teaching, educating students or food? Like what's like one of the most memorable experiences that you've had, like with food or students or anything like that?
Oh, there's there. It's like which one?
I know,
Um,
yeah.
I'm gonna misquote the great, late and great Anthony Bourdain.
Uh-huh.
When people say, what's your favorite food you like to make?
Hmm.
Every great meal has memory and context.
Hmm.
So for me, seeing that kid win first place in the state of Indiana
Hmm.
at Skills USA when they didn't believe that in themselves,
Hmm.
that's a great, amazing experience. Having that kid, I remember his name was Leo. He came to me and he's like, "You're the reason why I'm graduating high school."
Wow.
Or the parent calling you, thanking you because their child's the first one. Still in this day and age,
Hmm.
thank you for helping and supporting my child to graduate high school. They're the first one in our family to graduate high school. It's those little things. People want the big wow. I've gotten the awards, I've gotten all these things. And I always say my students are my best recipe.
Hmm.
That is the win at the end of the day. When a student feels like they have self-worth, that hey chef, I'm working at this restaurant, will you come see me? Yes, I will. I'll come see you. Or the kid I taught 10 years ago reaching out to me on social media through, all the different avenues these days. Hey, I need some mentorship.
Hmm.
Having a mentor, even at this stage in my life, I have mentors. They're the ones that are our cheerleaders that push us into uncomfortable situations that we're afraid to put ourselves in. And I think that's so important for our own students to see us pushing ourselves to be better, to learn and to grow. One thing students always say, I want this, I want that. I'm like, I'm not impressed with what you have. Those are things. I'm more impressed with who you are. Show me who you are and tell me what you need, and I'll jump on that ride and get you there. Macy Runkle, you probably met Macy a couple years ago, Chef Isaiah.
Uh-huh.
She came to a couple ACF national conventions, but she's had a wild ride. And, to me, a big win is her reaching out after she finally got a proper diagnosis. Her body is allergic to itself.
Hmm.
It and she's like, I can't work in the food industry like I want to. I can't be the pastry chef because I can't be in hot environments and all these other things. And I said, It's not can't, it's a pivot. This is a pivot opportunity because the hospitality industry is so wide, so vast. Take that mindset that you wanted to be a pastry chef and that first KitchenAid you got when you were a kid. Now we got to pivot. You've got the education, you've got the mindset. Let's pivot. So, guess what she does now? Event planning.
Wow.
Like that was not in the schedule, but that's life. Life throws you things right and left. Every day I come to school, I don't know the poop show I might run into. Uh, I go home every day and I leave the drama at school, but I might deal with kids wanting to commit suicide,
Mm,
kids coming home, coming to, boyfriend broke up, fights with families,
mm,
people not understanding why they're in our program, and all the things, as I say, about being an educator. But to me, the end of the day, the win is stories like Macy's. The win is stories like my recent one that his name's Rainey. He won first place in the state of Indiana for commercial baking and skills. At the beginning of his senior year, this was never on his radar, and now it's his passion. His goal is to get to CIA.
wow. That's so awesome.
But that's you're just taking a
Mhm,
puddle of mud and you're making something beautiful out of that. And it's so hard to pinpoint one pivotal thing in education that's, you
mhm,
know, the star of the show. But having kids realize that no one really cares about the things. People care about who you are, and
mhm,
showing people who you are intrinsically, are you a person of worth? Yes. Or do you have, um, are you compassionate? Are you reliable? Uh, you know, are you ethical? All the things. That's what takes you on this journey. And I always tell the kids, they're always like, Chef, you get these cool opportunities. And I'm like, because people can count on me. It's
mhm,
because it's who I am. Yeah, I have skill, I have great talent, I got all those things, but people seek me out for a reason. And it's not because I'm a jerk face. It's because
mhm,
I have a big heart and people know what they're going to get. And
mhm,
sometimes the passion, um, people get that confused with other things,
mhm,
and it's unfortunate because the amount of people, once I start, they form their own opinion of me, and then they sit and talk to me. They're like, you're just a very passionate person about what you love. I'm like, yeah,
mhm,
food and teaching and students, and yeah, let's talk about that. Like, why
mhm.
can't we feed our young people uh at breakfast and lunch each and every day? you know we have so much food waste. Why can't we feed our people?
Exactly. And
Oh,
Chef,
you
you
want
should have
to.
warned me. Yeah, I should have. You should have had a box of tissues next to me because this story is no, honestly, it's just amazing, and I could tell, like, I could feel your heart from across the screen. Like there's not many people at all like you, and genuinely doing it for the love of the people, genuinely doing it because you want to see people grow, because you want to see people succeed. Like it's
Mhm.
rare, especially in this industry. Like anybody could teach anybody how to cook. That's easy. Like Chef Lam, you always say it's easy to cook. That's the easiest part. But the love that you
Mhm.
have, is, that I've never seen. It's very rare to see that in this industry. We do it. We are in this industry to make people happy, make them feel good. But rarely do we see that being shown to coworkers or that being shown to ourselves even. So the fact that you have that is felt. It's very felt. And like you said, we already have that inside of us. We already have greatness. It's just who's gonna water our seeds so we can
Mhm.
grow. That's really the biggest thing. Everybody has it inside of them already, but it's who's willing to water the seeds. And that's why I'm so grateful for everybody on this podcast because we're all watering each other's seeds here. So
Mhm.
I love it. Yeah, I love that. Chef Lamb, or go for it, Chef. Were you gonna say something? Chef Lamb, Noreen.
Yeah, so I did miss a little bit.
Oh yeah, let me. No worries. So yeah, we
But
were just talking about like what's the most impactful or favorite like either food memory or something surrounded by like food or education or impacting somebody's life. Like what's the most impactful, part for you?
I think it's actually something Chef Greer had mentioned. Like she quickly threw in like the towards the end school lunches. I think that was one of the biggest reasons that I was like, enough is enough. I don't know what is going on in our political sphere. I don't know what's going on in our sphere, There is so much food waste, and we are having students accumulate student debt in schools in K through 12, and they're refusing to feed these kids until their parents pay off their school lunch debt in 2025 in America. That to me was unacceptable, right? So it's something I'm particularly passionate about, is like feeding the school population and also food in the prison population. But children in K through 12, like that's our next generation of our society. Those are going to be our engineers, our teachers, our doctors, our construction workers, all of it. And we need to invest in them. And that was something that is really important to me, that, kids can't think straight if they're hungry. That's something, Chef Greer had mentioned, I think, before we started
Mhm.
recording today. And it's very, very true. Like, if you're hungry, you're not hydrated, you're not receiving good nutrition, not only does it affect your focus for that day, but that's going to affect the nutrition of your body and your gut bacteria and everything in your health for the rest of your life. Those formative years are really, really important. So that for me is something that I see as unacceptable. I think all students should get free breakfast and free lunch. Shouldn't matter your parents' economic background, and it should be healthy. We look at what other students are being fed overseas compared to what school lunch looks like here. And it just needs more protein, more high quality fibers, you know, variation, nutrient density, all of that I see is missing from our school lunches. Unless you go to, really swanky private school. I worked in a couple of those schools during COVID before, and the lunch spread they had in there was amazing, but they had a whole culinary team and they had a chef and they were working out of their kitchen. It was a whole operation and it was really great to see. And another part of the industry that maybe a lot of people don't think about in the culinary industry is working in schools and hospitals. But
Mhm.
the really important part of the industry. And that is what gets me going every day. Like, that's something I really want to tackle and solve in my life. So that's something that I get excited about, I get passionate about, I get angry about, and I could talk all day about it.
Well,
Mhm.
Noreen, when I was my first 3 years, I was at a career center that primarily our students were very low income. And I would tell kids all the time, you're on the comp team. They're like, Chef, I don't want to be on the comp team. I'm like, no, you are on the comp team. And here is this box of food that you need to practice with. And it'd be like a whole chicken, it'd be a big bag of rice, all this fresh produce. Would say every week, you need to get your box to take home to practice.
Mhm.
And I'd do the wink, wink, nod, nod, like, shut up, just shut up. I'm giving
Like,
you food.
Mhm.
see, and that's wonderful, and we need more of that. And something that's really valuable that Chef Greer does, like caring about the kids and their families, but then teaching them skills that they can use, whether it's in a career or just the rest of their lives. Like, we all need to know how to feed ourselves and to feed our loved ones. We need that to survive day to day to day. So that is really, really important. And I love that you did that. I mean, how many students really need that and they don't have access to that? And having someone like you that really cares, I hope maybe serves as an example for others. Like, we can do this, we can all figure it out, and it's
Mhm.
really motivating and inspiring.
It is very, and I think this just shows even more the importance of your class, Chef, and the importance of that industry and then that program being there. Because even like I remember when I was in high school, you need like a certain amount of art credits, and culinary didn't count as an art. It didn't count as a credit. And I remember writing this very long letter to the principal, and I was like, culinary art should count as an art. This is how much it means, and this is. But I think people don't really see the value in what we do. And I think that's why this is so important. So we could show them the value in what we do. So we're not just put to the side, we're not just disregarded, but really without us, without the industry, without the love that we show for people, we wouldn't be able to survive. So I think what we do is super important, and it should be known. So thank you guys
And
for sharing that. Yeah,
and some kids are very strategic how they create their schedule.
exactly.
They want to be in my class or our classes. We have 579 kids enrolled in our culinary pathway. And in the population I teach now, a lot of our kids of need, I call them very undercover. They blend in. You have no idea that these are individuals of need, and they purposely take our classes. And you can tell the ones are like, can I take more of this home? Yes, you can. Whatever you want,
Mhm.
take
Mhm.
home.
Exactly.
And talk to me if you have food insecurities. There's resources. I'm here to help you. I'll do whatever I can. But some kids are very strategic by purposely taking culinary. And
Mhm.
people think it's home ec. I'm like, this ain't your mama's home ec anymore. It's straight up culinary pro start curriculum.
Mhm.
And the kids are learning how to fabricate a whole chicken. And I talk about this 10, I do the round numbers. This $10 whole chicken can provide you multiple meals that
Mhm.
will stretch the dollar.
Mhm.
And I always say, be grateful if you don't have to worry about money. I
Mhm.
still recall a student excited when the tax return checks came out. And I said to him, why are you so excited? You're just very joyful. He's like, Chef, this is the first time our fridge has been full in a year.
Wow, that's crazy.
And when the recently, when the government shutdown happened and the SNAP benefits were paused, I had several students that were very concerned because they had no food.
Wow.
And I would be like, here's here's some rice to go home and practice with. You know, when they were
Mhm.
open enough with me during this time, I gave them what I could,
Exactly.
that I knew would stretch out and feed and fill their bellies. But it's we need to stop with the I and the me and start thinking of the
Mhm.
we.
I love it. I love it, Chef. And I think that's what a lot of people they miss. They don't step into the other person's shoes for a second, you know? If like people say it's good to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, you know, just so you could see their life, you know, just be empathetic, be sympathetic of them and who they are because, you know, we take for granted a lot of the stuff that we have. But if we really dive deep into somebody else's life and then just take a quick peek into their life, like we'd be so much more better as people, as humans, and be able to, you know, impact them a little bit more. And a little bit goes a long way. You, like you said, you never know. Some rice can make a big difference if a family eats or not. So I think just chef, just continue doing what you're doing because it's really is inspiring. Like I said, it's very rare to see. So I know I appreciate that. And Chef Lam, what's your take on it?
I'm just, my ears are open, my mind, my heart, I'm listening to this, and, you know, we would not have enough time because we could go on, but then I stop and think about, first thing is, hey, I'm wearing a white jacket, right? A white jacket has a lot of power, it has a lot of gift. And before that power gift is able to share and mentor mentees, you got to take care of your ass first. And that means you got to get through, the body, mind, spirit, and food. And meaning because imagine imagine if I was in your classroom and I was a guest speaker and I looked at all these students and the first thing it says, okay, I want you to take a snapshot of how you are now until 100 years old. Okay. For each age, I want you to come up with a picture of how do you want to look like? Because I could say to you, a lot of you will not even make it because to reach 100, you really got in one way, it's called, persistent and father time and everything, disease, you name it, lifestyle. That's the beauty of reaching 100 because it's not about wealth. Wealth does not even get you close there. You know what I mean? So the thing is, as a chef, think about your sense, your eating, you're chewing. What are you going to make? All that is going to be taken away from you when you reach 100. All the skills that you have now, and you're on that phone and you're playing video game and you're just wasting a lot of wasted time, and you're not creating a philosophy and principle. So that's what I do. When I have a mentee, I go, hey, your job is to create a philosophy and principle. Why? Because that is what life is about. What is your recipe to the world when something is so damaging? There is no empathy, there's no love, there's a lot of hatred, but there's a lot of excuse. But that is the beauty of living. You know what I mean? Are you going to fight? Are you going to turn on your Bruce Lee DNA and just like, let's go, let's go? And that's it. And once you start doing that, guess what? Once you start running, swimming, doing calisthenics, do 1,000 push-ups, do 1,000 sit-ups, all that is going to come together. All that love that you just did, the rewards are going to be so powerful. And when you look in the mirror, you're going to go, who is that young gentleman?
Mm. Yeah, no, I love it, Chef. And I love how you said, kind of envision yourself how you want to be in the future. Look towards something so you could go to achieve it. I think that's super important. And look at, like you said, look at how you are now, and it doesn't matter physical, in place of work, wherever, emotionally, recognize where you are now, and seek help, ask people for help, and just think about where you want to be. And I think that that'll make you so much better, and just know that it's possible. And actually, I have a quote that I came up with, and I always, whenever, I'm trying to achieve something, I always think back to it, and it all starts with a vision that turns into a burning passion that leaves behind a legacy for everyone to remember. And it's just something you start off with it in your head, and then you make it happen, and it becomes passionate about it, and then everybody learns from it, and you're able to be an inspiration to them. So it's kind of just, being that for other people is super important. And that's how you learn and grow in any industry, really. So just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, I don't want to end this podcast. It's been honestly, like, all your stories, Chef, have, like, it hits right here. It's amazing. So, but just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, what's one piece of advice that you might give to somebody, a young student that's trying to get into the industry? What's a piece of advice that you might have for them?
Oh, never stop learning. Don't Sorry, the lights turned off in my classroom
Very
because I'm not
good.
walking around. Um, I always share my personal story of tremendous loss. My parents passed away 30 days apart from each other. And then 18 months later, my brother passed away from cystic fibrosis.
Mm.
And those are tremendous events that happen in an 18-month period of time. I don't allow that to define me. It's just part of my story. And you got to keep your eye on the prize. Surround yourself, like my dad used to say to me, you are who you hang out with.
Mm.
So are you surrounding yourself with people that are supporting and uplifting, or you're surrounding yourself with people that are dragging you down? How are you going to reach your greatest potential, whatever that is? Make a plan, look who's around you. Are those the people that are riding your coattails or cheering you on, celebrating you, and showing up for you in life's worst moments and in life's greatest moments?
Mm. I love it,
This
Chef.
industry is unforgiving,
Hmm.
but I found true family by working in the hospitality industry, and I can't imagine not having this part of my personal story.
Oh, I love it, Chef. Thank you so much. Chef Lam, Noreen.
No, that I couldn't have said it better myself. Just one note on the keep learning, because that's advice I receive a lot when I ask people, what should I just keep learning? I want to say to taste everything. There are so many kitchens and places that I've worked in. People are like, oh, I don't know. We're working in a sushi restaurant. They're like, I don't like raw fish. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to love it, but you're not going to taste any of it. Like, do you know what this piece of Toro is? Do you know how much this costs? You don't even want to taste a little bit of it. So just be open minded, taste everything, because
Mhm.
that is part of our education. That's part of our learning. We have to have a developed palate. You're not going to like everything. I am a super taster, super dominant taste
Mhm.
test. So there are things that I don't particularly like, but as we grow, we surprise ourselves, and it's my part of my repertoire as a budding chef. I know what this tastes like. I know what it goes with. I'm curious and I'm learning. So
Mhm.
please taste everything.
Yeah, I gotta take a piece of your advice, Noreen. They say taste caviar. I'm good. No,
Yeah,
but no,
but important, right?
it's
You gotta know.
important. You're right. You're right. It's so important. Yeah, thanks for that, Noreen. Chef Lamb.
Well, we're entering an industry that represents the world. And that means gender, culture, language, lifestyle. And when you have an open mind, open eyes, open heart, open ears, you are going to amaze yourself. Because what happens is everything's in front of you. You know what's right and you know what's wrong. But once you start closing each area up and suddenly you use the word I hate, then choose another profession.
Mhm.
Because as a chef, you're an artist. And one way you're there to respect the dignity of each country, of what they represent. And you have to learn, why do they eat like this? That's the beauty of our industry. You have to know, why do they do it? And you have to be part of them. So when you give yourself up, it's beautiful. Because for me, I have hands of international chefs around the world. I might not be able to speak the language with them, but when we're in the kitchen and we have some onions and carrots and some grain and protein, they're smiling. You know what I mean? So, that is the beauty of our industry right here, right? The food does not BS you. It goes
Mhm.
into your stomach or goes into your trash.
That's so true. No, no, that's beautifully said, Chef. You gotta respect other people's culture and their food and the reason for eating it. And it might be because of where they grow up, the resources that they have, but you gotta, be open mind, open heart, like you said. Beautifully said. So thank you guys so much for being on this call today. And I loved all the stories, Chef Suzanne. It was, like I said, incredible. We could tell your heart from a mile away. So thank you so much. It's been amazing. And not only will this call impact those listening, but it'll impact those that are connected to them as well. And here on this call, we have made history and shaped the way for the future. So thank you guys so much and see you on the next call.